بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أما بعد. All praise is due to Allah. We praise Him, we beseech Him, and we seek refuge in Allah from the evil of ourselves. Whomsoever Allah guides, then none can misguide him. Whomsoever Allah, the glorified and the exalted, misguides, then none can guide that person aright. I bear witness and I publicly testify that none has the right to be worshipped in truth but Allah, and Muhammad ibn Abdullah is his slave and his messenger to proceed. MashaAllah, tabarakallah, today is a very warm day, and I know most of us are tired. Either we came from work or we're playing football. So I'm going to try to make today as least intensive intellectually as possible. Though this may be a tad difficult, we will try our best. Last 2 weeks we've been looking at the new religion called atheism. The reason we say the new religion, because some people claim it is a religion. Some people see science as a religion as well. And we have alluded to both atheism and science and some of their faults. The first week we looked at what is atheism, and we looked at particularly a group known as the New Atheists. And I gave just a couple statements which I think were more than enough. More than enough for us to understand what is the animus or the hatred they have towards Islam. And it's very interesting that this week I've been looking at a number of commentators. As you all know, there's a group of people called the alt-right, especially prominent now with President Trump's election. They claim to be the spearhead of President Trump's election and his support. The alt-right means the alternative right. They saw themselves as being an alternative to the right-wing Republican Party. When you look at the alt-right, it's basically the old right in the old right in a new cloth. So they believe, for example, in what they call, these are things that we need to be aware of. Identity politics. That is, your identity is extremely important and the most prime thing. I'm not saying by itself is good or bad, but we need to be careful, because they use this as a cloak to promote a type of nationalism which is based upon race. Also, they believe that certain races are superior. Of course, we know which race they mean is superior, and certain races that are inferior. Surprise, surprise, the inferior races are the 3.5 billion remainder of the planet that can be found in much numbers in Africa and Asia. And so these ideas are very important because we find these groups coming together now. The atheists, the alt-right, and other groups coming together, converging with one problem. Central to them, the problem is Islam. Almost every single group, atheists, new atheists, the alt-right, and other groups find one particular belief system to be problematic. And that belief system is Islam, which is interesting. And I was listening to one person who is a clinical psychologist, and I must admit it was actually laughable, the stuff he was saying about Muslims in Islam. Maybe what I will do another day, put together a list of his arguments and just refute them off my head. You know, for example, he was saying that Islam is, he can't understand Islam, is it a religion or is it politics? Yeah? Is it religion or is it politics? Now we laugh at that because we don't make that separation, and neither do they make that separation. How can you blame Islam for being political, where up to today the church is political? How is the church political? You have people here from Africa, from Tanzania, from Kenya, from Uganda. Isn't the church politically involved in policies around single-sex marriage?
The church is running the country.
Put that aside. Put that aside. We know that the church has heavy influence in the developing world. If the church leaders say no, it's a no. We know that. Maybe not in the West, but Africa and Asia, yes. Other religious leaders carry power. Also, he said another criticism about Islam, as the Prophet died, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was a schism between Sunni and Shi'i, which is incorrect. It was well after the death of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is basic Dante. Dante was a medieval writer who wrote a book which he described different people in stages of the hellfire. And he put Ali radiallahu anhu in the hellfire. Why? Because of the schism of Sunni and Shi'i. So it shows you how much he understood. Because Ali has nothing to do with the Shia. Ali never called to a group or a party ever. That's well known. That's historical. Neither did Hassan, nor did Hussein. So some of their claims are laughable. But here comes the issue. We are here today, we're going to talk about, inshallah ta'ala, for the next hour, we're going to talk about some of the reasons why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists. But just to recap on last week and the week before. So we talked about new atheism, then we talked about the importance of the fitrah, the natural inclination or disposition that every human being is born upon. The ulama, some of them have said it's in the soul, and the ulama have said it's in the heart. Imam Sa'di last week, he said it's in the heart. This natural inclination towards the belief in Allah. Natural inclination, such that even young children have it. Babies have it. Even atheists have it. What do I mean? When the Titanic was sinking, how many atheists started to believe in God? Isn't it? They say, oh, I don't believe in God. When they're in an airplane, there's turbulence, what do? They raise their hands and say, oh God, if you get me out of this turbulence alive, I'll be a good person. Isn't it? Or when somebody dies, what do? Oh God, why me? It's a natural thing. So we said the fitrah, the natural state, can be clouded, or it can be corrupted. From those things that corrupt it is our environment, our parents. So we can be born upon Tawheed, but our parents can make us people who commit shirk, even in the name of Islam. Even in the name of Islam. Or bid'ah, or a religion that is not based upon revelation, even though it ascribes itself to revelation. The fitrah can be awakened. What a concern. The fitrah can be awakened by revelation. I remember in the first Gulf War, hundreds of thousands of Qur'ans were given out. And I heard the story of one person. How did he become Muslim? He became Muslim because during the Gulf War, his father was an American soldier stationed in Saudi Arabia. And at that time, people like Sheikh, Dr. Abu Amin Bilal Phillips, Hafidhullah, were out there actively giving dawah. So someone gave him a Quran, took the Quran back with him to America and placed it on the shelf. One day his kids, roaming around the bookshelf, came across this book, and what's this book? Pulled the book down and started to read it. And by the time they had finished, they read the whole Quran. And based upon that, they became Muslims. I always say, never underestimate the power of the Quran. There's a clip that's going around of a British man who said, I read the Quran. Beautiful words. I even myself, I met an Orthodox Jew in North London. He was Yemeni. He said, when we were young, we read the Quran. I said to him, how did you find it? He said it was hulu, it was sweet. So never underestimate the power of the Quran. Every little thing we do has an impact. And I can bear witness to this. As you know, our brother, Imran Mansour, better known as Dawah Man, they have a program where they're studying classical texts and primer. They've been doing it for the last 2 to 3 weeks. So I went to see him about something else, and they asked me if I could just give a little talk, a word of encouragement to the attendees, which I did. When I finished, this brother who was American, Pakistani American, he stood up and he said, he shook my head and said, Jazakallah khair. I said, what for? He said, I used to be into the Deen squad. I used to be into the Deen squad. I didn't listen to music, but I listened to them. But when I saw your video, imagine that, brothers. Who was there when I did that Deen squad video? Raise your hands. Most of us were here, isn't it? Yeah? All of us, inshallah ta'ala, we participated in that. The masjid, this is the masjid which facilitated me to give that talk about the Deen squad. Look at that. Imagine that the people who run the masjid, inshallah, get reward without even know you get reward. Without even know you did anything. So he said, when I saw that clip and I heard about Mus'haf Fatima, you know, the Shia, they have a secret Quran. It's called Mus'haf Fatima. They say a whole chapter has been taken out. Look at that. They don't believe, their scholars don't believe that the Quran we have is the Quran that was given to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they have other types of beliefs as well. So when I heard that, I stopped listening to the Deen squad. Look at that. A testimony to something. You may, brothers and sisters, believe that by giving people da'wah or giving them Quran is inconsequential. You don't know. That Quran you gave to somebody may not impact on their heart, but their children's heart, their wife's heart, a guest's heart. You don't know. And so, by reading Revelation and understanding Revelation can take away the clouds. Also, rational arguments. Arguments based upon reason are a means, and we have to be careful here. We are not talking about philosophy. We're not talking about philosophy to philosophize, but rather our arguments are based upon the Quran and the Sunnah, but placed or said in a way that can be understood by people who don't know or don't accept the Quran and the Sunnah. And so many times, even the Quran, as we shall see today, there are rational arguments. There are arguments that are posed to us. For example, last week we said, which is greater? The creation of the heaven, the skies, the sun, the moon, the planets, the orbits, everything? Or human beings? Of course that's greater. Greater in size, isn't it? Think about the sun. If every single human being on this planet, all 4 billion of us, we got into a spaceship and went to the sun, what would happen to us? We'll all perish, isn't it? Yes? Would the sun perish? No. The sun will still be there. All of us, all 4 billion of us. One time we said, okay, let's just hit the sun one time. We'll all burn. Yeah? We'll frazzle. It wouldn't affect the sun. That shows you a powerful creation created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah, many times the Quran gives us rational arguments. Also, reflection and introspection. When you reflect about your life, people like myself, for example, who became Muslim, or some of the brothers who were born Muslim but were naughty by nature, innit? Many people I know were born Muslim families. Mum's Muslim, dad's Muslim, granddad's Muslim, grandma Muslim, great-grandma Muslim, great-grand, all the way back Muslim. Hundreds of years, thousands of years even. But when they come to England, all of a sudden, the change of environment, the pressures and difficulties they see, they awaken, isn't it? I know hundreds of people like that. When they were back home, you couldn't tell the difference between them and Michael Jackson. But coming to this environment, it awakens something in them. Why? Because you start to think about the big questions. Why am I here? What's my purpose? Imagine, if somebody said, and we're going to discuss this in greater detail, if someone said to you, brothers and sisters, your purpose is to work, what would happen? Is it possible that you work all day, every day, and nothing but work? Is that fulfilling? If you had to work, imagine they give you £1,000 every day. And you work 7 days a week, that's £7,000. I see some brothers got big smiles on their faces, if only. That's beautiful, I would love that. First week, beautiful. Second week, beautiful. Third, fourth. What happens after the fourth month? How do you feel? Fulfilled? You got money in the bank. How many rich people came to that conclusion? They got money in the bank. They got millions in the bank. They don't need to think about anything, worry about anything. Is that fulfilling in itself? At first you're like, yeah, I'll get a Bugatti, I'm going to buy a new house, in fact 3 houses, I'm going to go on holiday, all that. After you've done it, then what? Okay, you went holiday, you bought the cars, you had the women, you had the men, you did everything you wanted to do, then what? And you still got 2, 3, 4 million in the bank. Does that make you fulfilled? Doesn't make you fulfilled. So many people, they have what we call an existential crisis. They come to a point in their life and they ask themselves, what's it all about? What's it all about? It's got to be more than this. Because as a human being, there's something inside of you, a spiritual side of you, that you can shut down for a while, but it keeps coming up. It comes up. It pricks you, prods you, questions you. And so, through reflection and introspection, can take away the clouds. Also, experiences. You may have an experience. So you may be walking down the road and you feel that you've been this place before. And you start to question and ask yourself stuff. You start to question about your life. Where am I going? I've asked this question many times. Which is the largest group that commits suicide in our country? Huh? Not the religious group, but age group. I've said it many times. Sorry? Who?
Teens.
No. It is middle-aged men. It is middle-aged men. Statistically, middle-aged men commit suicide more than teenagers. Teenagers, even though they haven't got any money, they have hope. Isn't it? And they have hope. Yeah, man, when I go after I finish college, I'm going to make some money. Hope. What happens if you're 57, you've made money, you've got a family, but all they do is, I want, I need. What happens to you? How do you feel? If always people are taking and no one gives, because you don't know why you're doing this. As Muslims, when you have a family, you recognize this, right? So this is an amana, it is a trust. Who are you responsible to for your family? Who? The government? No. It's Allah, isn't it? If you don't have that feeling, we know our society here. Guy settles down with a woman, has 2 children. The next day, a girl, half her age, he sees her in a club. He says, well, boy, man, I don't like you anymore. Off he goes. Am I right? Stuff we hear all the time. Or I remember once I saw a program. A guy was sitting at home with his family. And one day he said, all right, I've had enough. He stood up, he left the house and never ever went back. Now to us that might be like, subhanallah, amazing, am I right? But some people are like that. Because there's no fulfillment in what they do, because it doesn't pay anything, gives them anything for themselves. They don't feel any satisfaction in what they do. They keep on doing it all the time, it gives them no satisfaction. Working every single day to make money doesn't give you satisfaction. Work itself, no matter what it is, even if you love the job, doesn't give you satisfaction. The satisfaction for you comes what you do with your money. Now you may, as a father, give things for your family. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel that you fulfilled something that you were supposed to do. We know from our religion that when a man pays for his family, what happens? It's like sadaqah, it's like charity. If you don't have that conception, then what happens? It's all meaningless. No matter what you do, how good, you just feel, I'm just going through the routine. And then you come to an existential crisis. What am I doing here, man? It's better for me not to be here. I'm tired. I'm sick. And that's why, brothers and sisters, Allah tells us in the Quran, whoever leaves off the remembrance of Allah, You find yourself in a lowly life, in a lowly, sad life. If Allah is not in your life, you find yourself in a sad, dark place. A sad, dark place because you're alone. As believers, when you're walking down that dark alleyway, who's with you? Shaitan. Possibly, if you're a bad person, who's with you? Allah, isn't it? Yeah? When you're in a difficult spot, who's with you? Allah. You raise your hands in it when things are going wrong. You are supposed to save some money, but you spent the money. So your mum or your dad says to you, okay, where's that £150 I gave you? What's the first thing you do? Automatically your hands up, isn't it? Yeah? Allah's in your life, isn't it? If you don't have Allah in your life, who do you have who's supporting you, helping you, aiding you? Just yourself. What does Shaitan say to you? Shaitan will say to you, boy, I don't know how you're going to get out of this one, fam. Isn't it? Shaitan comes to you and says, you tried the halal, it failed. It's haram time now, fam. Am I right? Shaitan doesn't come to you and says to you, you're in a difficult situation, go halal. And if it's halal and you fail, alhamdulillah. Shaitan comes to you and says, boy, this one here necessitates haram. You do know Allah is the most forgiving. You know what I mean? All forgiven. You know, we're all forgiven. Don't worry about it. Afterwards, you know, you just say, astaghfirullah. That's Shaitan for you, isn't it? Though we know Allah is all forgiven, the most forgiving, we know that already. You see how He works. So you're by yourself. And so, by experiences in life, can point to you that there's a greater purpose in life. And what is interesting, while we have atheism growing, many people are slowly moving to spiritualism. They're realizing, boy, there's more to life than just this. There's something bigger, but they don't know what that bigger thing is. There's something bigger. And so, this is the fitrah. Concerning atheism, my respected brothers and sisters, if we look at atheism, and what's interesting about atheists, they're very honest people. If you go on YouTube, they'll tell you, well, atheism doesn't tell you how to lead your life. All it is you don't believe in God. It doesn't tell you how to lead your life, or even how to achieve a happy life. When someone says to you, come to road and says to you, oh boy, I'm an atheist. Ask them, how do you lead your life? Because they've grown up in a Judeo-Christian environment and in a Judeo-Christian culture. So how do you live your life as an atheist? How do you divorce yourself from a life based upon the Bible? How? You've got to be following some kind of morals or you're animal. No. So one of the things that we know about atheism, brothers, is that it is unnatural. And why do I say unnatural? As I've alluded to, that atheism, if you don't believe in God, there's no hope. What hope is there for you? If anything happens to you in your life, and there is no God, then who's going to help you? Who? If there is no God to protect you, then how do you have hope when your enemy comes to you? If there is no hope, if there is atheism, there is no God, then when you're despairing, the only alternative is suicide, isn't it? Why is it in Muslim countries, walillahi alhamd, the suicide rate is the lowest in the world? And in the advanced, look at what I'm saying, the advanced industrial societies, America, Germany, Switzerland, France, all those countries, Japan, look at Japan, one of the most industrially advanced countries in the world. As we know, a couple of years back with the tsunami and with the eruption of a nuclear power station, if that happened in any other country in Asia, that's it. They would have to borrow trillions upon trillions to recover their economy, am I right? Japan didn't need to. From their own banking system, they were able to keep their country afloat. But Japan has a special park where people commit suicide. There was a blogger, a YouTuber, a couple months ago who went to this park. I forgot the name of the park. And he was taking a video of him next to a man who had committed suicide. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Next to a man who committed suicide. They know people commit suicide in this park. Wallah, if you see the park, it looks shaitanic anyhow. It looks shaitanic anyhow. But how do you get to that stage? Because you have no hope. They don't think, okay, you know, I remember some years ago when I lost some money. And a brother, he told me the story of a Palestinian brother.
That's my shirt.
He told me the story of a Palestinian brother. He said this Palestinian brother, he lost the equivalent of £5,000. To us, losing £5,000, you might as well jump out the window, alright? But he lost £5,000. This brother then went out, he got a sheep, sacrificed the sheep and gave it to the poor. Why did he do that? Why did he do that? Lost 5,000 and on top of that bought a sheep, sacrificed it, gave all of his meat to the poor. Why? Okay, give sadaqah. That it may be, Allah may bless you to get it back. That's one good reason. There's another reason why. Sorry? Making no, it's not about looking good, no. Feel good, okay? Yeah, to feel good for giving the poor, that's a good one. There's another reason why.
You give Allah his back.
Ah?
You give Allah his back.
Okay, that's what the brother said, but that's excellent, yes. All of these are Islamic values, alhamdulillah. We believe in these values. Should I answer why? He said, the brother, and you know, I'm from the West, I'm hearing this, and I said to the brother, this better be a good one, fam. This one here, you lose money and you use your money to buy an animal, this better be a good one. He said the reason why the brother sacrificed this animal and gave it to the poor in thanks to Allah, that Allah only afflicted him in his money, not afflicted him in his health. Look at this now. How many people in this country, alhamdulillah, have money, they don't have their health? Them tablets for high blood pressure, tablets for heart, tablets for diabetes. They can't walk unassisted. They can't even go to the toilet unassisted. How many people have that? And they got money. We live in a society in which I'm going to retire when I'm 71. What good am I to anybody? So 71, Allahu A'lam, you may have 10, 15 years left. And that's, mashallah, tabarakallah, you spend your dying days in retirement. Look at that. So how many people, my respected brothers and sisters, Allah gave them ibtila in their health. They gave them trials in their health. How many people, he said also, that Allah didn't give him ibtila in his children. We see how many times on television, people having babies that have untreatable conditions. And they are faced with the dilemma, and Allah protect us and protect them and yourselves. Where the doctor said, listen, we feel keeping your child alive is torture. So we're going to turn off the life support system. Imagine that. You see this child from the age of 0 up until the age of 5 or 6 or 7, and you are now being told they're going to switch off life support on your child. Imagine that. Can you imagine that? Imagine people have children have diseases that affect them, just like the physicist Stephen Hawking, where your child becomes 7, 8, 9, and then they start to degenerate because they can't move their hands, they can't control their fingers, they can't control, they're just lying there. Imagine that. He said, Allah didn't give me ibtila in my children. So these brothers and sisters, If there is no God, effectively there's no hope. Also, there is no justice. There is no justice. Think about it. Where do we believe Adolf Hitler is? He's dead. Where do we believe people like Adolf Hitler and all those horrible, disgraceful, despicable Nazis are? Burning in the fire, am I right? Yes? Burn them upon the fire. Yes? For their evil. What about all those serial killers? What about all those serial killers that die? Where do we believe? Burn them too, isn't it? Yes? If there's no God, where is the justice? Where is the justice? There is no justice. There is no justice. We believe whatever evil you do in this life, it will catch up with you in the next life. It will catch you. Unless Allah forgives you, you make tawbah and Allah accepts it. And He accepts it. But doesn't have to accept it. You may kill 100 people and turn around and say, oh, Allah forgive me. Allah may forgive you, Allah may not forgive you. But if there is no Allah, no God, there is no justice. There is no hope of justice. And so as human beings, it's in our interest to believe in God because of hope and justice. Also, something very, very important, there is no value. There is no value. What's the difference between me and the chair? If as scientists believe we're all matter, isn't it? You know that who does physics or science here? Or did it? All of us did physics, yes, or science. Didn't your teacher tell you that everything is made of matter? Yes or no, yes? Matter, which changes its form and shape and size, dimensions and velocity. Yes or no? Yeah, I'm going back like 20 years now, yeah? I'm still doing good? Alhamdulillah. If all of us are made from matter according to the scientists, what's the difference between me and this chair? What? Is there a difference between me and the chair? Or me and a chocolate bunny rabbit? What's the difference between us? Matter, matter. Is there any value to human life? If I come here and I kill everybody, go outside and kill anybody, why should I be arrested if there's no God? Because the same no value as this chair, the same no value as the human beings. There is no value. If there is no God, this is one of the arguments you must succumb to. Because if there is value in human beings, where does that come from? Where? Well, it must be come from God, isn't it? Must come from Allah. Must be something outside of ourselves that I experience. Because scientists believe this is made of matter, and I'm made of matter, then we have similar value. If you say, okay, well, you have feelings and emotions, well, so do rabbits have feelings and emotion. Let's stop killing and eating rabbits. Let's stop crushing beetles for food coloring. Does anybody propose we stop eating beef burgers and lamb burgers? No. If that's the case, that because something has feeling, something has emotions, that you don't kill it, then we can't kill any animal on this planet. Isn't it? Do we as humans believe that? Of course not. The abattoirs where animals are killed are working night and day. Animals are sold. If we said to the British public, right, we're going to kill no more animals, no more food is going to be produced from animals, what would happen? You have a riot on your hands. Am I right? You have a riot on your hands. They say, look, no, we don't want no Sharia law, as if Sharia law has no killing animals. Isn't it? Some guy would say, that's a Sharia law, that is. I was amazed at that guy who came and said he doesn't want the Iraqi law in England. Miskeen. It's the other way around. There's the British and American imposing their laws in Iraq, not the other way around. I'm like, wow, what estate did he come from? The Iraqi law in England. And then I heard they made a song about him as well. They killed him. Poor guy. But this is the point, brothers and sisters. If there is no God, there is no value. We all become psychopaths. where human life has no value except for what I can get from it. That's in the mind of a psychopath. The human life has no value to me except for whatever I want from it. If I want you to be my slave, any type of slave, then you have value. Otherwise I'll kill you. Like Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer killed 17 men. Chopped them up, some of them he did chop them up, some of them he kept the bodies in his house with him. A sick individual. If this is the case, then Jeffrey Dahmer was right. Why do we put him in prison? Humans have no value. And so, another problem with atheism, brothers and sisters, is that if there is no God, there is no purpose in life. Every single human being feels there is a purpose in life, yes or no? If there's no purpose in life, why go study? Why go to college? Why go to university? Why even go to school? Because the Darwinists will say, well, humans came into existence after being apes and evolving for two things. One is survival and the other is reproduction. Why as human beings we don't just think about survival and reproduction? Well, I take it back. In our society, many people just think about reproduction all the time. But do we as humans base our lives around survival and reproduction? No. We have goals, we have dreams, we have aspirations. So today I'm a painter, and I say, yeah, in 5 years' time I'm going to have my own company. Am I right? Or we say, I'm doing my A-levels now. In 7 years' time, I want to become a doctor. A purpose. If there is no God, there is no purpose for our creation. And even today, they will argue there is no purpose. Some of the extreme atheists will argue there is no purpose. So if there's no purpose, all we should be doing is not building technology and being technologically advanced and going to the moon. We shouldn't be just doing that. All we should be doing is surviving. Living in a hut and thinking about the next mate. That's it. But humans, we've never thought like that. We have progressed. And so there is a purpose. Our purpose, as we believe, is what? To worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. Also the same, if there's no God, there is no happiness. There is no ultimate happiness. Because you can be happy. You can be happy. So those people going to the club tonight across the road, they're happy, isn't it? They're out there laughing, being jolly. Is that ultimate happiness though? That's not ultimate happiness. Those of you who are being naughty, should I say, you know what I'm talking about. The person who takes drugs, after a while becomes bored and tired. They start to question, what am I doing this for? The person who smokes cigarettes wants to stop smoking. Do people want to keep on smoking throughout their whole lives? No. All of us are looking for ultimate happiness. If there is no God, there is no ultimate happiness. All there is again is survival and reproduction. But there is ultimate happiness. Ultimate happiness in something human civilizations have thought and discussed about for centuries. And so, my respected brothers and sisters, this brings us to this part, a very, very important part about the repercussions of atheism. Now here comes the next part. Many times you're out there giving dawah or at work giving dawah. And people say to you this question, well, God doesn't exist anyhow. Who's heard that before? Raise your hands. Almost all of us, isn't it? Yes? Question. Is the default God existing or God not existing? Again, which is natural? God existing or not existing? Huh? Someone will say to you, remember I told you my story last week. I gave a lecture, I was invited to give a lecture in a university about Islam and science. I know nothing about Islam and science. Nothing. So I said, okay people, I know nothing about Islam and science. All the people of the Islamic society held their heads. What have we done? Catastrophe. I said, I have one question. Simple question. Do you believe in atoms? Remember I said this last week? Remember? I said, do you believe in atoms? And then I went on to develop the argument, we have no conclusive proof that atoms exist. Who studies science here? Anybody study science? What proof do they give that atoms exist? According to scientific method, it should be something you can see, touch, smell. Can you smell atoms? No. Can you touch atoms? No. Can you see them? No. How do you know they exist? They could be small little men and women jumping up around, that's the effect, and they cause the effect. Yes or no? Same with radio waves. Can we see radio waves? Huh? I won't even argue oxygen is different. But let's say radio waves. Electricity, can we see? People here, brothers, have done electricity. Can you see electricity? What does electricity look like? It could be small green men and women. And when you turn the switch on, they start holding each other's hands. Isn't it? Tell me that's not a credible theory. Go on, disprove my theory. It sounds ridiculous, but it is rational. It is a plausible theory. Why is it electricity? We say it is waves, or it is molecules, or it is matter. Why? Can we see matter itself? Can matter be seen? No. We can't then argue just because the effects of something, it exists. There are many things we see the effects of, we still can't see it. And so, my point here, my respected brothers and sisters, is that God existing is something which is self-evident. Doesn't need proof. It doesn't need proof. Rather, you need to prove He doesn't exist. Last week we spoke about, and that's what the atheists had to get us. They say, well, God doesn't exist, and what do we then do? We go into all this philosophical debate. We don't need to. Say, okay, prove He doesn't exist. Because the onus is not on me. The onus is on you. Atheists will say to you, well, science has proven God doesn't exist. As we said last week, science doesn't look at God existing or not existent. If I was to say to you, what is the experiment to prove that this water is pure or impure? You will say, okay, we get litmus, we get a cup of this water, and we get some paper that changes color when there's impurities. I stick it in there, and it changes color. Yes or no? Then we know it's impure. If the paper doesn't change color, we know the water is pure. Are you with me, brothers? Yeah? I need to stay with me with this argument. Yes? What does the God experiment look like? An experiment to say Allah exists, what does it look like? There is no experiment to prove that God exists, because science itself, despite the claim of atheists, has never ever looked at the issue, does God exist? Many scientists, including Charles Darwin, assumed that God existed. That wasn't the question. And so, it is self-evident. And so something which is self-evident by itself is truthful, has characteristics. One of the characteristics is universal. Question: in a vast majority of the world, do people believe God exists or doesn't exist? He exists, isn't it? All over Asia, they believe He exists. All over Africa, they believe He exists. Vast swathes of Europe, they believe God exists. The notion that God doesn't exist is a minority opinion. Universally, people believe that God exists. Also, it is untaught. The existence of God is not something that we were taught. It is part of our fitrah, something we naturally knew. Way before us, in civilizations that are very basic and rudimentary, they believe in God. It's something that humans have not been taught but always believed in. And so it's something also, the belief in God to exist is something simple to understand. It doesn't take any mathematical equations. I remember once I met this brother, I told you this many times. He's a very, very famous economist. And when he said about Tawheed, he wrote like a number, 16-digit number for Tawheed. I said to myself, where do you get that from? But understanding there's one God is a very, very simple concept, very simple thing to understand. Understanding multiple gods is what's complicated. Understanding multiple gods. So when you're in societies where there are multiple gods, different gods. So when you wake up in the morning, you got to give something to that God. When you go to work, something to that God. And this God and that God. We have so many gods, it becomes confusing for you to organize your life, isn't it? Because if you don't give something to a particular God, what happens? That God is angry with you, isn't it? If you believe in multiple gods, it's very confusing. Same with the whole concept of Trinity. The Father, Son, the Holy Ghost. Get 3 cups. Father, Son, the Holy Ghost. Fill, fill, and leave this one empty. When you put these 2 into that, what happens? It spills out. Does that make sense to anybody? Doesn't make sense to anybody. And that happened to me once I was giving dawah in the Caribbean. So I was telling them about Trinity. How at school we learn 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 2. 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3. Yes? Elementary math. So I said to them, how can you make 3 into 1? So this guy who went away, he came with 3 bottles. And look how he cheated. They weren't full, they were half. They're supposed to have 3 full bottles. But he had 2 half bottles of 1 empty bottle. He said, I'll show you how 3 goes into 1. I'll show you. He poured the first half bottle, it filled up halfway. When he was pouring the second bottle, it all spilled out. Everybody started laughing. I said, you see, that's the Trinity for you. Nobody can understand it, yes? Because the Trinity is not a religious concept. It is a pagan philosophical concept. That's why. But it's got to be something that is understandable. And also it's natural. In the human psyche, the human mind, it's natural to believe in God. It's not something that seems to be abnormal. What is abnormal is to believe there is no God, and so it is self-evident. And they have done research with children in atheist countries. And they have found out in their psychological studies that these young children who are atheists, from atheist families, that they have this understanding of something greater than themselves. And I gave the example at the beginning, that when you see the atheists on the airplane and there's turbulence, what's the first thing they do? Oh God, if you get me out of this one, I swear I'll be good. It's a natural response. Even Dawkins, they asked him about it. It's a natural response. So, believing in God, my respected brothers and sisters, is self-evident. It's not something that needs to be proven. It is something which is known by humans. What needs to be disproven is that God exists. And how do you disprove God doesn't exist? How? How? I'll tell you a story in my life. I studied A-level philosophy. And I don't advise anyone to study A-level philosophy. My teacher was an atheist. He was an atheist. And you know, you had all these kind of middle class people, most of the class were atheists, considered themselves to be educated people, etc. And he was studying, we're talking about the philosophy of religion. And he said, you can't disprove that God doesn't exist. That God, you can't disprove God exists. That's it, yeah. You can't disprove God exists. And they were like, what? He said, well, what about the fossils? God put them there. What about the stars? God put them there. What about this? God put them there. And they had absolutely no argument against it. Try that at work or college. It's self-evident. Who put the stars there? Allah put them there. The fossils, Allah put them there. Well, God didn't put them there. Alright, who put them there then? What's your proof of evidence? If Allah didn't put them there, who put it there? Did it create, and we're going to talk about this later, about existence. Did it create itself? Do you know anything on this planet that creates itself? Name me something that creates itself. Is there anything in your experience that has come out of nothing? If I, for example, if we all came to the masjid and I said, brothers and sisters, you see that tripod with the camera? It came out of nothing. It just made itself and it appeared. What would you say? Time to call the psychiatrist, isn't it? Yeah? If I came driving a big Mercedes Benz, big blinged out Benz, I stop everything. When I stop the car, the rims start spinning round, chrome rims. And someone said to me, Brother Talib, mashallah, where'd you get that car from? Bro, went to my front room and it was just there. What would you say? You kind of look at each other and say, I think the brother needs a rest from dawah, isn't it? Yeah? Am I right? If your son or your daughter or your brother or your sister came to you, pulled out £20,000 from their pocket, you would say, where'd you get that money from? And they would say, you know what? I woke up this morning and the money was in my pocket, it was just there. What would you do? Slap across their head, you lying thief, am I right? Would you accept that? You would assume automatically they stole the money, am I right? So as you know, something inside of us, ingrained in us, we understand that things don't create themselves, they come out of nothing. I'd like to stop there, Barakallahu Feekum, because next week, inshallah, we'll continue with this theme of existence. We're going to look at things. Are they created from nothing? Do they self-create? Created from something that was created? Or created from something uncreated? We're going to start with existence. Because this is important. Because the question you're always asked is, if God exists, where is he? Am I right? That's what they say at school. If atoms exist, where are they? Show me them. Like I said, and I know in this room, I'm walking on thin ice because I have electricians here. People do electrics, am I right? People study electronics. And they laughed when I said that. How do we know that it's not small green men and women? Am I wrong? It's true, isn't it? Can you prove to me my theory that electronic waves are small green men and women? You can't disprove it. Neither can you prove it. Am I right? Yes? It's self-evident that it's there. But these are one of the examples of things that are in existence that we can't see. We can't see radio waves. We can't see electrical waves or electronic waves. We can't see them. We see the effects. We can't see them. The atom bomb. We see the effect. Can we see the atom? No. It's self-evident that they exist. Are there any questions or clarifications at all? Lukman, get your hand up. Anybody else? Jazakumullah khair. If that's the case, we'll see you next week. We'll start talking about existence. Listen, please bring pen and paper, because what we're learning here are real world stuff. When you go to work, it's stuff